Most gardeners treat kitchen waste like a disposal problem instead of a soil-building tool, and that mistake quietly drains fertility out of their beds year after year. Scraps get hauled away, compost piles get overwhelmed, and nutrients that should be feeding roots end up somewhere else. I built a worm tower to stop that loss, not as a gimmick, but because open compost wasn't delivering nutrients where plants could actually reach them. The results surprised me. It worked faster, cleaner, and more consistently than most compost systems I've used. If you're already growing food and you care about efficiency as much as yield, go ahead and, subscribe now. This channel is about systems that really earn their place in the garden. The first thing I want to clear up is what a worm tower actually does, and, well, what it doesn't. It is not a replacement for compost. It's a localized nutrient injector. When built correctly, it turns kitchen waste into worm castings and microbial activity exactly where roots can access them, instead of somewhere else in the yard waiting to be moved. So I built my first tower directly into a raised bed because, well, that's where nutrient demand is highest and, space is limited. The container was nothing special, just a length of PVC pipe about 15 centimeters in diameter and roughly 45 centimeters tall, with holes drilled along the lower 2/3. The holes were large enough for worms to move through, but small enough to prevent material collapse. The bottom was open and buried into the soil about 30 centimeters deep, with the top sticking out just enough so you could add scraps and easily cover it. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think the tower is where worms live permanently. It's not. The tower is a feeding station. Worms move in and out as conditions suit them. If the surrounding soil is hostile, the tower won't work. That's why people build them, dump scraps in, and see nothing happen. Before installing the tower, I made sure the bed itself was worth living in. Consistent mulch, steady moisture, and no recent tilling. Worm towers don't create soil life. They concentrate it. I started feeding the tower slowly. That matters. So I added roughly a cup of chopped kitchen scraps every 3 or 4 days. Things like vegetable trimmings, a bit of coffee grounds, and some crushed eggshells. No citrus at first, no cooked food, and definitely no grease. Each addition was capped with a handful of shredded dry material to control moisture and, keep any odors in check. Within 2 weeks, the scraps were gone, replaced by dark, granular castings migrating out into the bed. The speed is what sold me. In a normal compost pile, those scraps would take months to cycle back to the garden. In the worm tower, nutrients started moving into the root zone almost immediately. Leafy greens near the tower deepened in color first, then the growth rate increased. That wasn't subtle. One thing I learned quickly is that more is not better. Overfeeding turns the tower anaerobic. When that happens, worms leave. If you smell sourness or rot, you've gone too far. The fix isn't additives or turning, it's stopping inputs and letting the system rebalance. Moisture control is another point people overlook. The tower contents should be damp, not wet. If liquid collects at the bottom, you're drowning the system. I avoid adding wet scraps in bulk and always balance them with dry carbon. The surrounding soil benefits from the slow, even release of nutrients without leaching. In in-ground beds, worm towers shine in poor or compacted soil because they act as a biological wedge. Worms tunnel outward from the tower, dragging organic matter with them. Over time, the bed loosens naturally. I've measured improved infiltration around towers compared to areas just a meter away. Raised beds respond even better because roots find the nutrient gradient quickly. I usually place one tower per square meter in high-demand beds like tomatoes or squash. Not in the center, but slightly offset so roots explore outward instead of crowding. Now let's talk about a misconception I see constantly. People assume worms must be added. In most cases, that's unnecessary. If worms are present anywhere in your soil, they will find the tower. If they aren't, adding store-bought worms rarely solves the underlying problem. I've had better results fixing conditions and letting local species move in. Hydroponic growers often ask if worm towers have any relevance for them. Directly, no. Indirectly, yes. The castings produced in towers make excellent microbial inoculants for media beds and compost teas. I harvest small amounts from the soil near towers and use them upstream in hydroponic systems with noticeable improvements in root health and nutrient stability. There are limits. Worm towers don't process large volumes of waste. They are not set and forget. They require attention and restraint. But the trade-off is precision. You know exactly where your nutrients are going. Seasonality matters too. In cold climates, towers slow down in winter. So I reduce feeding and let them idle. In hot climates, towers need shade or, deeper installation to prevent overheating. Ignoring temperature swings is another reason people see inconsistent results. What I appreciate most is how quietly the system works. No piles to turn, no bins to haul. No rodents if managed properly. Just steady nutrient cycling exactly where plants need it. After running worm towers for multiple seasons, I don't install beds without at least one. They don't replace compost, mulch, or good soil management, but, they really do amplify all of them. They turn kitchen waste into a targeted soil tool instead of a logistical problem. If you're serious about closing nutrient loops in your garden, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We focus on systems that reward attention and, produce measurable results. And if you know someone throwing scraps away while buying fertilizer, share this video with them. Growing better food starts with using what you already have in the right way, in the right place.